Since the kidnapping, torture, and murder of Ilan Halimi in January 2006, all Jews murdered in France have been killed by Muslims. 36% of French Muslims want churches transformed into mosques. 25% of French Muslims even reject the word France. Look at this flyer. Drag show for Palestine, Saturday, 16th of March. Free entry, hosted by, wait for this, Daddy Satan. Who's going to tell them that these people are not going to last a day in the world? All right, folks, this is Harris Sultan, and without sounding like an alarmist, a broken record, or even a conspiracy theorist, which most of you who have followed me long enough know that I have a special aversion to, I have some news to share with you. This isn't some abstract thought, and I have a survey to show for it. There is a new survey that's recently been conducted in France regarding Muslims. The results aren't surprising to me, but they should be a wake-up call for all of our far-leftist, blue-haired, self-righteous, virtue-signaling, pathological, altruistic Wokistanis. Whenever people like me or natives of any Western country highlight the problem of rising Islamism, they are immediately shut down as racists or bigots or sellouts. Instead of looking at the claims objectively, they just put fingers in their ears and say, la 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 la, I don't want to hear it. The most ironic thing about this threat of Islamism is that these blue-haired Wokistanis will be discriminated against before anyone else. Conservative Christians might find a way to coexist with conservative Muslims because they can find some common religious ground, although they would also suffer in the end because Islam is a totalitarian ideology and it cannot tolerate any other ideology or religion surviving on the basis of equality. But atheists, progressives, far leftist wokies, off you go to the rooftops. As it happened in Dearborn, Michigan, when the wokies and Muslims elected a Muslim mayor. You know the first thing he did? The first thing he did was take down the LGBTQ flags. And I remember all the wokies and LGBTQ people were like, but we always supported you. What did we do wrong? We were supporting this oppressed minority in this white country. And the response was, not interested. Off you go. Bugger off. The funny thing is that some Christians joined those Muslims in taking down those LGBTQ flags. That episode was absolutely hilarious. I mean, these wokies are supposed to be my allies. Most of them are atheists, but no, as I've said before, I have now started enjoying when they get thrashed around by not only conservative Christians, but also by conservative Muslims. These wokies have been very successful against conservative Christians, but conservative Muslims? Woohoo! That's gonna be fun.
Protect our children! Protect our children! Protect our children! Protect our children! Protect our children!
I just saw this video a few days ago where a Muslim propagandist is saying that the reason why they're failing in Palestine is because these LGBTQ people are protesting along with pro-Palestine people.
But there's going to be sins in protest. You'll be sitting next to a guy who's going to go and penetrate and sodomize another guy tonight. And you're gonna expect Allah to give you victory because you're standing next to a guy who's gonna literally insert his genitals into another man's back passage.
They don't want these wokies. They don't want these blue-haired wokies, LGBTQ people. They don't want them. But like a neglected dog, these blue-haired wokies are like, no, please, fundamentalist Islamists, we are on your side. The left has totally lost it. They have absolutely no idea which direction they're going in. They're like a rudderless ship headed for a collision with an iceberg. I think when a society fails to distinguish between right and wrong, good and evil, it begins to die. Here's another example. Look at this flyer. Drag show for Palestine, Saturday, 16th of March. Free entry, hosted by, wait for this, Daddy Satan. Who's going to tell them that these people are not going to last a day in the world? But things are actually not that simple. And I know there's something more sinister at play. These guys aren't as naive and gullible as we might think. They know the evils of Hamas. They know they wouldn't last a day in Hamas's world. So why are they doing this? Why are they facilitating Hamas? Why are they acting like useful idiots for Hamas? Well, Because just like the Muslim diaspora that doesn't care about Muslim lives but is more interested in capturing Jerusalem and putting Jews under the heel, these far leftist Wokistanis and the LGBTQ mob are also not interested in Palestinian suffering either. They are more interested in drawing attention to themselves. They are attention-seeking clowns. They need something to be outraged about. Last year it was pronouns, this year it's Hamas, next year it'll be something else. Anyway, let's get to the topic of this video. But before I go further, please like, share, and subscribe to this channel. If you want me to keep making awesome videos like these, you can support me by becoming my patron at patreon.com/Sultan, or you can simply buy me a coffee. You don't have to buy just one coffee, you know. You have an option to buy many coffees, you know, like 5 or 10, just if you want to show appreciation to my work. Just putting it out there, no pressure. So let's get to today's video. I just gave you a bit of a rundown on how these leftist Wokistanis and the Muslim diaspora are interested in pushing their own agendas, and collectively, they all work as useful idiots for Hamas. But what about the people in the middle? There are genuinely some people in the middle who think that every criticism of Islam is Islamophobia or a far-right conspiracy. Obviously, I am more of a guy in the middle, and I want to reach out to those people. I hope most people aren't extremists, especially in the West. There are some people on the far right and some on the far left, but the majority sits in the middle. Okay, let's get to the survey. These results are not surprising to me, but they should be a wake-up call for many people in the West. This survey was recently conducted in February and published by Le Journal du Dimanche. I think I butchered it, but who cares? It's just French. Just a quick note that not all statistics in this video are from the aforementioned survey. So let's get into it. France is expected to see its Muslim population rise from 10% to 17% by 2050. 17%. If you think it's difficult to manage these protesters demanding Sharia, blocking streets, and forming ghettos when they're only 10%, imagine how it's going to be when they become 20%. I don't even want to think about it. Do you? Here's another key fact. Since 2006, all violent anti-Semitic attacks in France have been perpetrated by Muslims. All of them. Not a single anti-Semitic attack by a far right-wing white supremacist. So tell me again that there is no anti-Semitism amongst Muslims? Since the kidnapping, torture, and murder of Ilan Halimi in January 2006, all Jews murdered in France have been killed by Muslims. 17% of French Muslims admit to hating Jews, while 39% have a very bad opinion of Judaism, not Zionism, Judaism. But we don't hate the Jews, we only hate Zionists. 45% of French Muslims want the total destruction of Israel. 49% of French Muslims want Catholics to convert to Islam. See their ambitions? The Islamic Republic of Al-Francistan. 36% of French Muslims want churches transformed into mosques. 25% of French Muslims even reject the word France. 42% of French Muslims place respect for Islamic Sharia law above the law of the French Republic, rising to 57% among young Muslims. And that's the same thing that's happening all across Europe and even in the UK, as Nigel Farage recently said, which we discussed in the last video.
Some of the recent surveys saying that 46% of British Muslims support Hamas, support a terrorist organisation that is prescribed in this country. This Prime Minister is building up far more of that population than anybody before in history.
37% of French Muslims support the Muslim Brotherhood. Okay, now this is not unanimously agreed upon. However, according to some reports, over 70% of prison inmates in France are Muslims. 70%. Muslims only make up 10% of the French population, yet they make up 70% of prison inmates. It could be 50%, could be 40%, but still, they are disproportionately represented. I thought Islam makes you more moral. Whatever happened in that claim. Daily, more than 200 are reported, mostly by illegal Muslim immigrants. More than 120 knife attacks occurred daily, largely by Muslim men. Only 7% of illegal immigrants ordered to leave France are ever actually deported. This is how broken the system is. France has over 751 sensitive urban zones where radical imams and Muslims gangs dominate. Riots often follow police incidents with gang members, and police are often ordered not to arrest anyone to avoid escalation. Political leader Eric Zemmour has faced fines for provoking discrimination and hatred towards the Muslim community. Marine Le Pen has acknowledged an Islamist ideology but claims only a tiny minority adheres to it. She's still being politically correct, yet they call her an Islamophobe and a far-right bigot. Similar issues are emerging in other Western European countries like Germany, Belgium, France, Sweden, and the Netherlands, and also, of course, our very own, the UK. There is concern over the rise of Sharia-controlled zones across Europe. These statistics offer a glimpse into the collective mindset of a significant portion of French Muslims. There is a strong sense of collective identity and a push towards Islamization, which poses a real threat to secular and democratic Western values. The irony here is that the very people who advocate for these changes will be the first ones to be targeted under a strict Islamic regime, i.e. the blue-haired Wokistanis. I've included the link to the survey in the description for those who want to delve deeper. If you find this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Your support is crucial for me to continue bringing you content like this. You can support me on Patreon at patreon.com/HarrisSultan, or you can buy me a coffee by going to buymeacoffee.com/HarrisSultan. So until next time, ta-da. If you'd like to support my work, you can become my patron by going to patreon.com/HarrisSultan, or you can simply buy me a coffee.